when I can remember that I'm a miracle, when I can remember, "Oh, actually, I am good enough right here, right now, where I am," I can be gentle.
This is the first of our Thinking Out Loud episodes, real conversations where nothing's polished and nothing's pretending to be finished. In this one, my partner Brett and I explore what it really means to see ourselves as a miracle, especially in midlife, and how that single idea can quietly change the way we age, live, and treat ourselves. It's not a how-to, there are no conclusions here, just honest reflection. Enjoy.
Welcome to Midlife Unfiltered. I'm your host, Margit Cruice, and this is our first episode with my partner, Brett Clarke, otherwise known as Clarky. And today, and every episode, we'll be discussing all manner of things. So first of all, welcome, Clarky.
Thanks. Thank you, Margit. It's a pleasure to be on this podcast, and I can't wait to talk about all sorts of random stuff.
So today, first of all, I would like to dedicate this episode to my beautiful stepfather. He passed away on the 2nd of January this year at the ripe old age of 100. He was an extraordinary man and an extraordinary example of what it means to age well and to live well and be content with your life. And I'm sure that he will, his example will come up several times in this podcast, no doubt at all. But today I wanted to start, and it's a bit of an unusual start, with kind of half a poem that I wrote a few years ago. And I think it really exemplifies a little bit of how we see ourselves in midlife. So I'm going to start with the first half, and later on you'll hear the second half and kind of what happens. So she looked in the mirror, and what did she see? A reflection that looked a little like me, with lines on her face and very dry lips, her legs not as toned and some fat on her hips. The dreams of the life she'd had in her youth, she looked into her eyes and she missed the truth, because the life she had wanted wasn't to be. She couldn't see the miracle that was she.
I love that. I love that. I love the fact that you talk about a female being a miracle, and it can be a male as well. And I just wonder how that relates
To midlife?
to Midlife Unfiltered.
Yeah, look, well, I see everyone as a miracle, and if I'm honest, sometimes I forget that. But generally, I think we don't see ourselves as miracles. And yet when we think about what it took to get us here, what it took for us to be alive and present on earth, what it took to bring someone here to listen to this, it's all miraculous in its nature. But I don't think we live our lives as though we're miracles.
Not at all. I think everybody just accepts the fact that they're here, but the reality is being born is a miracle.
Absolutely.
But we see miracles as things that are bigger than Ben-Hur, things that we don't really comprehend. That's a miracle. It's not a reality.
Yeah, as almost paranormal or extraordinary in nature, rather than actually there's miracles in our life every single day. If we look around us, certainly I think nature shows us miracles all the time. But it's how we see ourselves and then what we do with that. Because I don't know, I see a lot of people who feel like they're not good enough, or, we talk about that traditional midlife crisis. And really the crisis is, I'm not where I thought I would be in life, and I'm getting older and I don't like aging. Those sort of things all melded in together, as it were.
So if I said the statement, it's not an accident that you're here, rather than a miracle, would that change the way people perceive themselves?
I don't know, because if I said to you, you've said to me more than one occasion, I was an accident.
I was an accident. Absolutely, I was an accident. I've got siblings that are 12 or nearly 11 and 13 years older than me. And Mum was old when she had me.
Yeah, but how does it make you feel, right? How does it make you feel when you think about I'm an accident versus I'm a miracle?
I've never really thought about it. As an accident, it's funny. It almost gives me an identity by saying that I'm an accident. And I've probably used that my whole life as part of my identity. It's probably so wrong, and I shouldn't do it. I do a lot of that sort of stuff. So I've never really looked upon anything and I'm assuming a lot of people like this, looked upon that aspect of life as a miracle. It's a miracle I can touch my nose. Like if you look at every little thing, they're miracles.
And that's the thing, we looking at a miracle, we do look at it as though it's something extraordinary. It's not just the ordinary run of the mill. Or we could use, reframe everything to be a miracle without a doubt, but how interesting would the world suddenly be? But more for me is how I see people perhaps not recognizing within themselves that miraculous nature, not recognizing that they're good enough, that they're worthy, just the way they are, that there's nowhere you have to get to, there's nothing you have to do. Now that's separate too. Yes, we have some dreams and some hopes and things that we want in our life and even things that we want to achieve, but it's very separate from our basic nature of being good enough, of being worthy, just the way that we are.
So if we apply this to midlife, which is what we're talking about, how do you think people should be looking at themselves now? They've reached 40 to 60, sort of midlife area, and you're now saying that it's not an accident they're here and it's a miracle in some ways or in a lot of ways.
And if I'm really honest, I'm an overthinker. There's absolutely no doubt. I overthink a lot of things, and I often think about this. Who are we? What's our nature? What's our true nature? How do we connect with our higher self? All of these questions kind of run rampant for me pretty constantly. And I don't think overthinking is something that's just limited to me. But if I take a step back and I look at, what's the impact that this has on my life? When I remember that I'm a miracle, when I remember my true nature, when I remember that I'm good enough just the way I am, I can take pressure off myself and I can enjoy life in a very different way to, like in our 20s and 30s, I think we're a bit more goal driven and achievement driven, and we want to do this and we want to do that. And when we get to midlife, we start to sort of go, well, hang on, I want to be a bit more laid back. But I don't think it makes anything less possible, if that makes sense.
So do you think you're looking for joy at midlife, or are you still looking for purpose?
Look, you know me, I run a program called the Joy Rebellion. I'm clearly a big fan of joy, and I think joy is an essential ingredient to live a good, happy life. And when we can see, I guess this actually probably embodies it a little bit, looking for joy within ourselves as opposed to externally. How can we be more joyful about who we are, about how we show up in the world, about the things. I think by midlife, and I say this in one of my interviews, that we have earned the right to look at ourselves sort of through some, maybe you call it rose-colored glasses, but we've earned the right to look at ourselves and go, wow. And I think if we can understand, what we've been through to be here in this moment right now with each other, for us, with each other, what it's taken for someone to be here to listen to this podcast, I just truly believe that that's miraculous in nature. And I think if we could see ourselves and remember ourselves that way more, I think we could walk with less stress. I mean, you and I, we've been watching the Blue Zones again, and we know that stress ages us faster. It shortens our lifespan, and it doesn't make our life enjoyable.
So stress from a chronic perspective, not just a stress-related response.
Yeah, like a long-term stress. But this stress of feeling I'm not good enough, I haven't done enough, I need to do more, it doesn't allow us to relax, to enjoy, to be fully present with who we are, to be fully present with each other, to not have to achieve anything else or be better than, or compare ourselves to anyone else, right? Be better than anyone else, to just be okay with where we are right here, right now, knowing that we are always in any moment doing the best we can with the information we have. And if we could live more like that, I think, wow.
It's interesting because I'm a great believer in living in the present. I speak to lots of people about it, and I think you mentioned a statement the other day about anxiety and depression. Depression comes from the past, anxiety comes from the future. We should live in the moment and not introduce those emotions to our systems. So I'm a great believer in living in the present. And so going back to being a miracle and living in the present, how does that work in your mind, do you think?
I think we can be softer with ourselves. And by softer, I mean gentle. I think we can be kinder to ourselves, that we can acknowledge that we have wins, we have losses, we have successes, we have failures. And at the end of the day, it doesn't all mean anything. None of that comes with us when we pass, right? None of that. I mean, my stepfather, Paul, he lived till he's 100, and his favourite saying was, "I enjoy my life."
Yeah.
And he
He
did.
did.
He really did. Yeah. And he was extraordinary in the way that he enjoyed his life.
Here's a guy who taught himself piano at what age?
93. Yeah, we bought him an electric keyboard at 93 because he wanted to learn piano. Yeah. And the story, like even his story of moving from Australia to Canada when he was age 75, because my mum is quite a bit younger than him, and she got a job over there. So he picked up his whole life at the age of 75, which is remarkable. But then at the age of 87, when she'd finished her career, he packed up and moved back to Australia, which is it's unbelievable to me. But he genuinely enjoyed his life. And I think that's why he was alive for as long as he was. He was happy.
He was inquisitive. He was a very inquisitive man.
Really curious nature. So I kind of think, though, for us, I know for me, I'm really hard on myself. And I think
You're not.
And I think it's just this, when I can remember that I'm a miracle, when I can remember, actually, I am good enough right here, right now, where I am, I can be gentle. I can be kind to myself.
And so you're saying this that everybody should look at their lives like this? I think it's beneficial to them rather than...
I never say, I try not to say should.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's I just have noticed for me, when I treat myself like this, I feel better about myself and about my life. That's how I would put it. And people can take that and think about that, how that sits for them within their life. Because it's also not about stepping back and just being happy, like living in your comfort zone all the time, because that's another whole conversation. So, but we might pick up that conversation, living outside the comfort zone. But for right now, just this, for me, I know being gentler and kinder is much better for my mind. And I think we're contending with a lot of things in this world at the moment that, can make life pretty tricky.
Okay. So there's a second part of the poem
Yeah.
that I want you to read.
Okay. And I think this is a really nice sort of to close off this discussion as well. Just hearing this. Yeah. She looked in the mirror, and what did she see? Someone with hopes and dreams just like me. As she looked a little deeper and opened her heart, she realized with a smile that was the start. Even though her life wasn't as she'd planned, she decided it was time to take a stand. Maybe she was a miracle girl, and she carried that with her into the world.
That's beautiful.
So I hope that this discussion around being a miracle has perhaps inspired you. I hope it's awakened some remembrance within you that you are a miracle, and that you being here at this time is no accident, that you listening to this podcast is no accident, and just remembering the true nature of who you are. And honestly, I think we're all walking miracles on this world.
Absolutely.
Thanks for tuning in to Midlife Unfiltered. I hope today sparked something meaningful and reminded you of what's possible in this season of life. If this episode lifted you up, share it with someone who could use the reminder. Subscribing will make sure that you're notified when a new episode is released, and leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify also helps more people discover our little corner of midlife truth-telling. You can always reach out through Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. I love hearing from women who are walking this path with me. Interested in working with me? You'll find everything you need at margitcruice.com. And remember, midlife isn't an ending. It's your invitation to feel more alive than ever. See you next week. And now the legal stuff. The content in this podcast is provided for general information and inspiration only. It does not constitute medical, legal, or psychological advice, nor is it a substitute for independent professional care. Margit Cruice is not a registered health professional. You are responsible for your own choices and outcomes and should always seek advice from an appropriately qualified professional.